Well, mostly, apart from that, thing about, transports and some other things. So yeah, welcome back to Advance Wars Reboot Camp, where the economy is being explained to us right now. Your points are directly your currency, and...
Hi there! My name's Hachi, and I run the one and only Hachi's Shop!
I named it after myself, because I have a massive ego, and he's right to. This guy is, You don't want to mess with this guy! You know that shopkeeper in Link's Awakening who kills you instantly if you shoplift? Well, Hachi is that times a million. Now, if this works, even lists new COs to play as. Yeah, so yes, this does work the same way it did in the original games. You do unlock the characters by paying for them, though I'm actually not sure how the unlock will work in this version, because, of course, they're unlocked in very different ways via the first game, as opposed to the second game. Yeah. I kind of wonder if maybe it's going to work like Smash Bros, where there are multiple ways to unlock the different characters. But okay then, last time we completed Mission 2, and now, I like how there are pins in the map as well, it's cool touch. Olaf may finally be taking us seriously, but he's still a moron. Andy. It's funny, again, Andy's dumb, but to me he's kind of endearingly dumb. Okay, funny story. I had to pause temporarily because my physical copy of this game that I pre-ordered before the delay just came, and I've been playing a digital copy because I just wanted to be absolutely sure that I got it this whole time. So yeah, I bought this game twice. You can tell how much of an Advance Wars fan I am. So yes, this is Fog of War, as the mission itself is called Fog of War. I believe this is gonna be the last time we use Nell in the campaign, too. So, better late than never to go over how she works. It's kinda sad, really. I do like that these missions gave Nell a chance to be playable in the campaign mode, because she never was in the original or Black Hole Rising, or any of the other games. Because she wasn't even in Jewel Strike's campaign. Yep.
In this picture, there are 40 people. None of them can be seen. In this film, we hope to show you how not to be seen.
War is so mysterious.
Do you need me to explain?
Let's explain this because, it is a little unique, honestly. It's kind of interesting how it works. We can only see a limited distance ahead. So, infantry can see 2 spaces ahead, as can tanks. And all of your properties are lit up. In practice, this is kind of so that if an enemy steps on one of your properties, you know. Honestly, it makes sense. You'd probably get some kind of warning if somebody was attacking one of your cities. But yeah, the cities don't light up any tiles around them. But yeah, neutral cities are still hidden. So be careful. There might be ambushes waiting. Oh, this has elements of Nell's theme in it too. Like this event theme, that's cool. Yeah. Foot soldiers have something a little unique when it comes to Fog of War. They are the only unit type that can traverse mountains, besides air units, but they don't actually really care about actually being in mountains. If you move a foot soldier on top of a mountain, their vision range actually extends. That's a unique asset that infantry and mechs have.
Another thing.
But woods are very important terrain in Fog of War missions, because you cannot see what is in a forest unless you put a unit directly adjacent to that forest. Meaning that any enemies in forest need to be scouted out individually. And you need to kind of dedicate precious units towards scouting. A common trick is hiding indirect units in forests, and you'll probably see the AI do this a lot. Also, yeah, that reef right there, pretty sure Olaf has a ship in it. I've never actually played field training before, but I do think I actually played this one because in the original GBA version, this was mission 15 of field training, and so if you skipped straight to this one and finished it, then you were free, and you could play all the other modes. Yes, let's go over Recon and Rocket units. They're both pretty useful in Fog of War. Now, normally speaking, I wouldn't use a Recon for this because there's a medium tank right there, and Recons really don't like getting hit by medium tanks. So, Recons are a fairly cheap vehicle unit. They can be brought out in the early game. They are pretty much good against infantry and nothing else, but that actually is useful. They can harass capturing infantry, and they make for great units in the early game because of that. They can potentially throw off their opponent's economy if they get rushed early on. Just watch out for mechs. If a mech hits a Recon, that's a bad time for the Recon. They have movement of 8, but they move on tires. So they suck at moving through forests and plains. Unless the map has a lot of roads, Recons are actually less mobile than you would think. The main asset of Recons is they have 5 vision in Fog of War. So yeah, they're mostly useful for scouting. But yeah, they are pretty weak, they can handle infantry, do not let them get hit by anything above a mech. Like, if a tank hits them, even another Recon hits them, that's generally bad. So, I mean, except missiles, because, you know, everything's decent against missiles, because missiles kind of suck a lot of the time. Uh-oh, yep! Olaf did the old indirect in the forest trick. That is a rocket unit. So yeah, this mechanic is actually interesting. This mechanic is called the ambush mechanic. If you move a unit onto a space in Fog of War that you can't see but that has an enemy on it, you'll get like a little blinking exclamation mark and your unit will stop moving. This is a mechanic in Fire Emblem as well, except Engage. The really weird thing is, Engage simply doesn't allow you to move into Fog of War at all. And I only discovered this relatively recently when I started trying to use Sigurd in Fog of War maps. But okay then. Yeah, it's time to test out our own rocket. Rockets are an indirect unit, but they're a little bit more extreme than artillery. They have a worse minimum range. They have a minimum range of 3, but they have a higher maximum range of 5. They are, however, devastatingly powerful. They are massively good against foot soldiers, they do incredibly good damage to ground vehicles, even medium tanks, and they are very powerful against ships and even submarines. For all this power, you get a price. Well, firstly, rockets are literally more expensive. They cost 1,500, which is more than 2 artillery. But the real price is rockets move on tires and only have 5 move. Rockets, and also they can't move and fire. So rockets take a long time to get into position, and also if the enemy destroys a rocket, as I'm about to do with my medium tank, before it gets a chance to be used, that is very, very bad. Because that's 1,500 funds gone. So rockets are really risky. They're kind of the quintessential difficult but awesome unit of Advance Wars. They are really strong, especially a good deterrent against medium tanks. They essentially turn a large area around them into a no-go zone. So they're very good defensively, as well as aggressively. But you do not want to let your rocket get exposed, and also they're horrible at mobility and positioning. Like, getting a rocket in a forest is really, really good. It's a good position for one. Good luck actually putting one there. Same attack range as missiles, but they also can attack more things, so they're more useful. Yeah, and they can't counterattack. And also, yeah, even infantry. Like, you do not want rockets getting hit by anything, even infantry. Like, infantry absolutely devastate rockets. Yeah, I already went over that. Okay, so, like I said, I don't like putting my tank on a road, but here's the thing. Tank worth 7,000 versus rocket worth 1,500, very good. I like the way Blue Moon rockets look. But, like, this is what I was saying earlier. it's a huge crippling blow to your enemy if you can destroy a rocket before it hits anything. Like, that's a lot that your opponent invested in a really, really expensive unit that never got to do anything. So, rockets, very strong, but they're also a little difficult to use, and destroying that thing leaves me able to put my medium tank on a forest instead of on the road, which is, again, roads, like think of roads as like roads are poison, or like the roads are lava. Like, you don't want to attack from a road if you can avoid it, so yeah, we're gonna do that. But before I attack the medium tank, I need to finally explain how Nell works. Nell is a commander that I always promised to show back in my Advance Wars 2 Let's Play in 2014, and I never got a chance to, so I'm finally doing it now. So, by well-balanced with no weak points, it means that she has no reduced firepower on any unit types. But Nell's day-to-day ability is that, you know how I said in the first part that you get randomly 0 to 9, like added to your percentage when you attack? Nell instead gets 0 to 19 added. So, she's unreliable, but she always has the chance to do a little bit more damage than you might think. This, for example, can turn a 90% damage into a one-shot if you get lucky, which a normal commander with a luck rating of 10 can't do. It's not reliable, but it is nice when it occurs. So her power, as I showed last 2 episodes ago, is Lucky Star. This sets her luck value up to between 0 and 59 instead of 0 and 19. The reason why it's not exactly 60 is because you can roll 0. But anyway, so you can potentially get a really, really devastating attack, and they also gain 10% to firepower and defense, which is independent of luck. I should also mention that luck damage actually scales based on the unit's HP. So this medium tank right here with 5 HP actually has half of its usual luck damage. So it will roll like 0 to 9, but then that value gets halved because it has half HP. Luck damage is also influenced by terrain, because luck damage is added onto your damage, and then the terrain bonus is subtracted from that total. So, when playing against Nell, you can kind of try to counter her by using terrain to your advantage. It mitigates her luck somewhat. Nell is overall a very controversial character in the Advance Wars fandom, because for a while she was considered brokenly overpowered, and then people were like, well, no, actually, well, that's kind of cool to see that. And then people were like, well, actually, no, she's reliant on luck, she's not that good. And then eventually people settled on around the middle. Most people nowadays consider Nell an upper middle tier character. So she's very good, and in Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising on GBA, you had to get an overall A rank in the campaign to unlock her, like for Versus Mode and War Room. So the game made you earn her in the originals, and I believe in the original Advance Wars 1 GBA, you had to beat hard mode to unlock Nell, I think. Yeah, like that's actually what you had to do, so that's kind of ridiculous, because Advance Wars 1 hard mode is utterly insane. Let's talk about... Actually, no, let's talk about Olaf next turn. For now, let's just bully him by exploding his precious medium tanks. And there we go. Medium tank down. Okay, yeah. Artillery, indirects. So indirects are, no pun intended, indirectly weakened by Fog of War, because... Okay, if I put it here, and that can go 2 spaces ahead and get into that mountain, so I suppose I can go ahead and do the dumb transport thing here. But yeah, because you have to scout out enemies in the fog, they're reliant on other units. Okay, this city was Olaf's. Interesting. They're reliant on other units in order to actually hit things.
Can you withstand the cold? Blizzard!
You are really seeing this whole, like, loser's advantage thing when it comes to CO powers in play, because, yeah, Olaf is getting his powers a lot more than we are, because we're damaging his units quite heavily. Oh, I love Nell's theme so much. It's such a great song. Like, they did a great job on the remix too. So, now we just had him use his Blizzard, and if we look down here, yeah, we can see that all of his units do have that 10% firepower bonus calculated here, because he's used his power. Olaf. Olaf in Advance Wars 1 is not exactly the best commander, and it's kind of intentional because he's meant to be the dumb starter villain, but he works a little uniquely. So Olaf has no day-to-day firepower or defense bonuses. His units are average, and they stay average unless he uses his power. It means he has no real weaknesses, but it also means he has no strengths, and that's also a very big weakness. His tactical powers earned him respect. Wow, Blue Moon must have terrible standards. But Olaf's units ignore snow movement penalties, but rain affects them the way snow does other units. This is cool that Reboot Camp clarified this, because in the original games, it simply said he was weak in the rain and left you to figure the rest out yourself. But how it actually works is that rain affects Olaf the way that snow affects everyone else. The problem with that is, there's no actual way you'll be seeing rain outside of a certain other commander. Which means Olaf is terrible against that commander specifically, but most of the time, unless you're playing with random weather, Olaf doesn't really have much in the way of weaknesses. But he doesn't really have much in the way of strengths either, so it averages out. Olaf is pretty vanilla. In fact, one thing I once used to hear is an idea that the Advance Wars community used to suggest called stress relief. Put any number of players against Olaf. Set the weather to rain. Because you can do that in the versus mode. You can have permanent rain, and that's kind of silly. So let me just show how snow works, because that's pretty relevant when it comes to Olaf's power and what it does. So you might notice that my mech can still move 2 spaces. My infantry, however, can only move 1 space on a non-road. During snow, all terrain's movement cost goes up for everyone who isn't named Olaf. So infantry take 2 spaces, but mechs come with their more rugged terrain handling. They don't pay extra movement cost. However, mechs, as you can see here, do pay extra movement cost on mountains during snow. That's important to know. This mech can't actually go all the way here. It would normally have been able to go 2 spaces, it can only go 1. So mechs, don't think that mechs ignore snow. Now, cities, for the most part, are readily traversable during snow, as are roads. Roads are also fine. Forests, I believe, yeah, forests get a bad effect from snow, tires in particular. Without movement cost of 4 for tires in snow, rockets pretty much can't even go into woods at all, except unless they're like adjacent to them. So like my rocket is heavily slowed down by the snow here. You might also notice that it says air has a cost of 2 everywhere during snow. So effectively air units have their movement halved in snow, which means Olaf is decently effective against opponents who prioritize air combat. And Olaf's power is very, very simple. It just makes it snow. That's all it does. And he gets 10% to firepower and defense. So Olaf's a little stronger when he's using Blizzard. That's not true of Advance Wars 2 because they removed the 10% firepower part of powers. But Olaf in general, he actually gets a lot better in Advance Wars 2. He's very, very good in 2. But this is not Advance Wars 2. In Advance Wars 1, Olaf is a bit of an interesting commander because he's kind of more about slowing down your opponents than he is about, like, making games for himself. The idea with Olaf is that the longer a game goes on for... Yeah, this infantry can't even get in these mountains at all, so I may as well capture this. The longer a match goes on for, and the more blizzards he uses, the more likely Olaf is to win, because he just kind of gradually grinds you down. Now, there might be a thing in there, and I might waste my tank doing that, which is a problem, because I kind of want to hit that. Yeah, okay. I don't like doing this because I have this very strong suspicion that Olaf may have a rocket on his HQ. Enemies like to put rockets on their headquarters, or like, headquarters, that's a silly plural, but you get the idea. Enemies like to do that, like, in general, or they'll put, like, a tank or a medium tank on their headquarters. And here we see another really big weakness of medium tanks, is they only have 1 vision in Fog of War. So, like, there could be an artillery here, and my medium tank is going to get shelled, and I can't even tell. But I can try and scout with the Recon down here if I'm feeling especially brave, or stupid, yeah. Which is kind of the case with a lot of Advance Wars characters. They are both brave and stupid. Okay, this tank will be able to see a little further. Let's take this guy out. Olaf's Blizzard is also a good power to use if your opponent is about to get their power. because essentially what that means is, okay, I put my artillery down here so I can punish that tank if it tries to attack my tank, which is on a road. Again, I said that you don't want to attack from a road, but I had no other option here. I also know there is no rocket on the HQ, so that's good. Let's see. Yeah, okay, if there is a rocket here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I suspect there might be, then the artillery going there is going to get itself shelled, so I am going to put myself on a road here just to make sure, because, yeah, sometimes you get to know certain tricks the AI likes doing in Fog of War maps. In general, if you see a forest, you want to expect there's either an artillery or a rocket in there. Could use more tank support lower down, but this tank isn't really going to get anywhere, so I'm going to shoot this infantry with my tank first, just in case it gets trapped, and just in case there's something in that forest and my tank gets trapped if I put it there, and now I'm going to go with the rig. Oh, there was no trap here. Now, in fact, something that I don't think the game explains to you about Fog of War is that in Fog of War, you might think that you could just keep running your recon around the map and testing the vision range, and getting more vision than you would otherwise. Like, I'm like, oh, I'll put the recon here and see 5 spaces. Oh, no, I'll take that move back and I'll put the recon here and see the 5 spaces here and get, more mileage out of your vision range. They thought of that. In Fog of War, units consume fuel even if they cancel their movements. This is particularly dangerous when it comes to air units, so watch out for that, otherwise your air units can very easily crash and die. You want to be very careful with planning out your moves with air units in Fog of War. I kind of wish the tutorial did a better job of explaining that. This is the kind of an issue here. Advance Wars, the original Advance Wars 1 had a far more extensive tutorial than this, but it was also very intrusive, and it had 15 missions that you were forced to play before it even let you play any other mode, which is pretty annoying. So I'm kind of glad at what they did with this, but at the same time, this tutorial doesn't explain, the best in terms of the ins and outs of the combat systems, so I hope I'm doing a good enough job of explaining things. I have an idea. If I move this tank here, though you want to be careful of your movement arrow during Fog of War, because if, say, my movement arrow went through here, I run the risk of getting ambushed if I do that, because there could be a unit in here, whereas if I do the movement like this, I don't have any risk of getting ambushed because I'm moving through clear terrain. But if I do this, I will scout that forest and shoot this infantry with the same move, and I'll be able to finish off that other tank with my other tank. Aha! Yep, as I thought, but it wasn't a rocket, it was just an artillery. There may be a rocket here, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. Well, that tank is dead if there's a rocket there, so nice knowing you. But yeah, as I said, this tank can now go down here and kill this tank. Goodbye, Mr. Tank. You can turn battle animations off if you want, but I like the battle animations in Advance Wars. I always like to use them. Okay. Oh, okay then. I can do this. That's fun. Oh, I love how there's tank traps on the beach. That's really cool. But okay then. Normally, again, you don't want to attack from a beach if you can help it, because beaches also have no defense. So they were called shoals in the original. So I kind of prefer beach, actually, as a name. But anyway, beaches do something unique when it comes to naval units, which the original game had a separate tutorial on, but I believe this game is going to introduce them later once they're actually relevant in the campaign mode. Advance Wars 2's campaign does introduce air and naval units a lot faster than, not air, but naval units. And here's my transport movement thing, because if I put my mech here, it's in range of the HQ next turn, though I may be able to route this map if I'm doing things carefully. Yeah, I'll put you in the forest. So sad this is the last time we'll be hearing Nell's theme in the campaign mode, because it's such a good song. Yep, that's a rocket, isn't it? It is. But here's something in Fog of War maps. You can actually see where, like, what terrain the enemy is shooting from if you have battle animations turned on. That's actually another advantage of having battle animations on. So that's why I actually recommend, even if you don't like battle animations, I recommend keeping them on for Fog of War missions, because that way, like I said... Oh, I'm so sorry, infantry. It's fun to do this sometimes, even though it is also mean. You will see what terrain your enemy is shooting from when it comes to, like, artillery. So if you see the woods terrain, like, I know the rocket wasn't on the beach or on the plain. So I know the rocket is in one of these two spaces. And thus, I can scout it out. So... here is where things get somewhat problematic, because I kind of want to leave my medium tank to potentially shoot the rocket and then my other tank to shoot the rocket, but if I do that... Oh, I can't actually do that, because I need to kill this artillery, otherwise I... Actually, no, wait, this guy gets hit by the rocket as well. Anyway, I actually want to kill the artillery, the medium tank anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Aha, there we go, we can show the trap mechanic. Something kind of silly about that in the Advance Wars series is that in Days of Ruin's Japanese version, guess what it says if you run into an ambush like that? It says the S word. So, pretty sure that was just, you know, English edginess from the Japanese version, and it's just no in the English version. I think it's just like an exclamation mark in the European version of Days of Ruin. It's not even a word, but it's still kind of silly. But okay, this guy right here, he's going to go ahead and do this, because I have a suspicion. Yep, okay, Olaf has a transport ship, or a lander in that reef. That's why I would prefer to get an HQ capture victory. If I move the artillery there, though, I don't know if I'll be able to kill it. Like I said before, artillery are quite good against ships if they get in range, but okay. Now, if Olaf is smart, and knowing Olaf, he probably isn't, he would shoot the infantry, he would shoot the mech that's capturing his HQ. Like, I mean, obviously. It's the only way he doesn't lose next turn. So let's see if he actually has something resembling a brain. He does. Okay, good. That sadly means my capture is being interrupted here, and I'm not going to be able to get this turn. So, I am just barely out for a power. So I'm going to be showing off something here. I'm going to blast the rocket first and hope that this gives me the final sliver of power energy that I need. The reason for this is that I don't need Lucky Star to kill this rocket, but Lucky Star could make me one-shot that lander. So I would rather get that now.
Lucky me.
Before the artillery attacks. So, the AI typically always uses its power at the start of the turn. That's usually not good practice when you're actually playing. See, here is an example of where I can potentially get my power in the middle of a turn, and then actually get the full benefit. So, if I get really lucky, this is a one-shot. It's probably not going to be a one-shot, but we'll see. Oh, that was close. I may be able to do this. So I have a regular tank there, I have a medium tank. Oh, I gotta get pretty lucky with that medium tank. Also, you might notice there are those two question marks there. Landers will be explained later, but basically landers can transport 2 ground units, and not just infantry, but any ground units. In Fog of War, you are not shown what units a transport is carrying. In non-Fog, you are shown. So I wouldn't know if it was carrying anything. But in Fog, it's like, oh, who knows? Could have 2 medium tanks in it, it could have nothing. That's kind of a fun mechanic. Oh, dang it, I just realized. Crap. If I move the APC away, that thing is no longer visible. Well, that is actually really annoying. I wish I had like a naval unit, but I don't. That's a pain, okay. I was hoping that I would actually be able to get lucky and destroy that thing this turn, and then I'd save a turn, but... Well, that is unfortunate. Like I said much earlier, usually luck doesn't impact things, and this is kind of the downside of Nell. Her powers are luck reliant, so I'm going to be winning in day 6. I hope day 6 is good enough for an S rank, it probably is. Olaf just got his power twice. That's kind of how things go when you're getting pummeled like this. You might often see the enemy get a power towards the end of a game, but it's not really going to affect much of anything. But while you're using your power, you do not generate any additional charge, which means, like, your meter doesn't actually, like, generate any more charge on the turn that your power is in effect, which means that when your opponent uses a power, that is your cue to pummel them. Also, here's tank versus ship. I said before, it's hilarious when you actually, didn't get it, when you kill a ship with a tank, but I was going to do this anyway. So, this may be a route if this is his last unit, which I suspect it is. And there we go. Goodbye, Lander. And that was his last unit. This is truer than he thinks, because the next mission was actually mission 1 of the original campaign. I actually like how they're doing things this time though, because it gives a bit more of a build-up. You'll see next time, but I actually don't think the next mission is a very good introductory mission. Like, it's a good mission, but it's also not a good first mission, if that makes sense. Oh boy. We'll be seeing more of Nell, but she'll take more of an advisor role from now on. We sadly won't be using her for any of the later missions. Oh boy, Andy is still learning. He is very much still learning.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. He's gonna need it.
I have high hopes for you. Show me what you've got.
No, that was a perfect speed. I was not expecting that to be a perfect speed score. Okay, then. So, yeah, nice. Okay, unlike the last time, I am going to show the count-up screen for the points, and then what's on the next one, and then I'll see you next time for the next mission. These early campaign maps it's just fun to watch the points just rack up, because the early campaign maps are, in both 1 and 2, are generally an easy 300 points, so you'll be able to buy a lot of stuff early on, not so much later on.